From missing the trailer release for The Flash to being an absolute menace out in the streets, here's the real reason Ezra Miller has destroyed the DCU. The DCEU has not had a good time with its past film releases. With competition like the MCU, DC movies have been underperforming for quite a while, and bad press from its actors is the last thing they want to deal with. We all know they've had their fair share of casting issues, like Amber Heard in Aquaman and Ezra Miller as The Flash, because having controversial actors like them in their movies has done DC no favors at all. For a hero like The Flash, Miller is the worst possible role model. For starters, they've got an entire list of allegations against them, from assault to harassment, and not to mention grooming minors. Ezra's got quite the rap sheet, so having them as a part of this franchise means nothing but trouble for both the DCU and Warner Brothers. In fact, the movie almost risked getting canceled due to the bad press Miller was attracting. But by some miracle, the film is still happening, and we can only hope it can live up to the hype. The whole controversy surrounding The Flash is a huge dilemma that Warner has been dealing with for the past year now. Plus, when you consider the fact that even their lead actor isn't serious about the film now, then that's gotta hurt their brand image. You see, in 2023, at the CinemaCon in Las Vegas, Ezra Miller didn't even bother to show up for the trailer release of one of their biggest movies to come out yet. Although considering the web of controversies and scandals surrounding the actor, it may have been a blessing in disguise for Warner that they weren't there. In fact, there's one thing fans have been wondering for a while now too. Why on earth is Ezra Miller still allowed to be part of the franchise? I mean, come on, it's bringing the DCU so much bad press even before the film has had a chance to be released, so what gives? Well, here's the deal with Ezra Miller and their gig as the Flash in the new DC movie. There's no doubt that the actor's pretty talented and can deliver a solid performance, but you just cannot ignore the amount of trouble they've found themselves involved with. I mean, we're talking about a crazy streak of crimes here, from assault, kidnapping, being on the run from the cops, starting up some weird cult. There's just no end to the list.
I was assaulted in this right?
Okay.
Well, you could have told us that instead of running away and playing all of this theatrics.
Ezra's performance as the Flash is impressive. But here's the thing. When you've got someone who's been involved in all that chaos, it's a real blow to your reputation. It's not surprising that the future of the Flash movie was just so uncertain for a while. On one hand, DC has this potentially amazing movie, and on the other hand, they have Ezra Miller. In fact, the higher-ups at Warner Brothers had to sit down and figure out what they were going to do about this person. At first, it seemed like Ezra was out of the franchise for good, and that made sense considering what they've done. But then things got a bit confusing. Reports started popping up saying that Warner Bros. Was actually open to working with Ezra again, which of course met a lot of backlash and criticism from fans and the media. I mean, can you blame them? Why would you ever want to keep someone like that around? The LGBTQ community, for one, does not want to associate with them at all. You see, Ezra has never shied away from being eccentric and weird. They're very open about their identity as a queer, non-binary person with a barely a human being type of persona. The LGBTQ community got a lot of recognition and acceptance because Ezra Miller's take on the gender binary was refreshing, especially at a time when the world was still in the process of accepting the queer community. I mean, it's great to see more and more celebrities proudly coming out, along with the increase in representation of queer, trans, and non-binary actors on our screens. We're all here for accurate and diverse representation, right? But when it comes to Ezra Miller, well, they're not exactly the kind of representation the queer community wants anymore. Not to mention, Miller is just plain weird at times, especially with their take on relationships. Aside from all the controversies surrounding Ezra Miller's questionable behavior, it seems like the juiciest gossip revolves around their gender identity and love life. You see, Miller isn't exactly a fan of being tied down to just one person. Nope, they like to take a more unconventional approach to romance. They proudly embrace polyamorous behavior, which means they're involved in multiple romantic relationships at the same time, and they've been pretty open about it as well. As if Ezra isn't weird enough with this, they even have a name for their little circle of love. They call it their polyamorous molecule, or polycule for short, but that's not the end of it. Like we haven't heard enough already, they don't shy away from sharing intimate details. In a very intrusive 2018 interview with Playboy magazine, Miller did not hold back from discussing their personal experiences as a being. That's what they call themselves, by the way. Anyway, they share details of their love life that, for many of us, is just way more than we want to know about them. Like, nobody wants to hear about that stuff, Ezra. Talk about too much information, and it's clear that DC fans and a majority of the audience don't really care about what the actor does in bed. In fact, this kind of behavior has no reason to be promoted within the DCU. You do you, Miller, but that kind of lifestyle does not resonate with the wider fan base. When it comes to the DC universe, most fans are all about the heroic journeys, epic battles, and awesome plots. They want to see their favorite characters kicking butt and saving the day, so it's a little weird to see the person associated with their character involved in such a lifestyle. We can only do so much to separate the art from the artist. At the end of the day, it's all about what the audience wants and what keeps them engaged in the DC universe. So while it's cool to have diverse perspectives and representations, maybe we can focus on the superhero action and leave the personal bedroom stuff out of the equation. And not to mention, the guy is not exactly a saint. Sure, they've done some good things in the past, but recently, their behavior has been concerning. I'm talking about some pretty disturbing and at times, even dangerous actions. We can't just ignore that. Since around mid-2022, Miller's been in the news, and for all the wrong reasons. The allegations and legal charges against them have been piling up, painting a pretty concerning picture of their behavior. We're talking multiple arrests here, with accusations ranging from physical assault to even brainwashing an 18-year-old activist and keeping them away from their parents. It's been one troubling incident after another, and it's hard to keep this kind of stuff under wraps. One of the more serious allegations popped up in June, when a temporary harassment prevention order was slapped on Miller on behalf of a mother and her 12-year-old child. And let's not forget the whole burglary charge in August in 2022, where they supposedly broke into someone's house and swiped a few bottles of alcohol. As if all this bad rep isn't enough for the actor, there were reports of Miller housing a woman and her 3 children in unsafe conditions on their Vermont farm. Can it get any worse than this? And guilty or not, them being at the center of serious scandals like these only spells trouble for anyone associated with the actor. Miller's PR team has tried to do some damage control, which I can imagine was a nightmare for them. This led to him releasing a public apology. They owned up to their ongoing struggle with complex mental health issues and mentioned they're seeking treatment. About time. It's a pretty messy situation, and the aftermath remains uncertain. Miller's actions have definitely had a major impact on their personal and professional life, and we're all left wondering how this drama will unfold in the months to come. But you know what? No matter what your thoughts are on Ezra's actions, or whether they can make a comeback, I mean, this movie does have the potential to be awesome, maybe even epic. But here's the thing. A character as beloved as the Flash is way bigger than just one individual, and when that individual is surrounded by controversy, it's bound to bring everyone else down with them. And well, there you have it. From being an absolute menace out in the streets to missing the trailer release for The Flash. That was how Ezra Miller has straight up destroyed the DCU with their unhinged behavior.